this video, we're going to be password spraying users in Office 365 or Azure AD or any other Microsoft service really, using TeamFiltration, a tool written by Flangvik or from TrustedSec. We're going to be password spraying users that we've already enumerated, which I'm going to show just right now. So we're going to connect to TeamFiltration's database using this command. And once in the database, we're just going to type show emails to see how many emails we have so far in the database. Should be about 7 that we had validated in a previous step. And now what we're going to do is just write a common command into a text file, a common password, sorry, into a text file. And since the name of our target tenant is Vote International, I'm just going to create a password Vote 2022 exclamation mark. This is usually a pretty common password permutation, company name, year, then special character. So in this case, we're just hoping out of all our valid targets that at least one of them is using this password. Next up, let's run the TeamFiltration command. Let me just explain it briefly. So the command is TeamFiltration, then the spray module, and then the passwords is just the file with however many passwords you want to try spraying against. In this case, it's just one password in the file, common.txt. And then the last two parameters are just the database that TeamFiltration is currently using and the configuration file, which these two parameters are used every time you run TeamFiltration. And alright, we'll start spraying. If you had multiple passwords, it would usually sleep for a certain amount of time, but in this case, we just have one password. You can see it's already started password spraying, and it's found at least one user. The deep at voteinternational.onmicrosoft.com was actually discovered using the weak password that we were spraying the targets with, and the rest were invalid, though the good thing is the deep in this case is not using MFA, so we can actually use his account to further enumerate the tenant. So let's do that now. This time we're running TeamFiltration with the exfil command, which is used to further exfiltrate information or users, groups, Azure AD information from Microsoft tenants. We're going to be exfiltrating data from the Azure AD. So that's why we've passed the Azure AD module, AAD. And then again, just the database and the config file. Alright, this time it's going to take some time. If we had multiple valid users or multiple users' credentials, it would have shown them here, but we've only found one user, so we're just going to use that user to enumerate the tenant. This is really important, especially for OPSEC. The spray module does use Fireprox, which just means it can password spray from multiple IPs using Amazon services, which I'd already set up earlier before this video. Unfortunately, the exfil module isn't configured to use Fireprox. So with this, if you really do care about OPSEC, you probably want to be doing this exfiltration from an IP that isn't likely to get flagged. But in this case, it's just a test demo, so we're just going to say yes, we do want to exfiltrate from this IP. You can see here it's logging in and getting the tokens it needs to enumerate the target tenant. Shouldn't take too long. And there, it's exfiltrating a bunch of Azure AD users and groups using the AD Graph API. And you can see it's gotten 17 additional Azure AD users. So let's connect to the database so we can actually see these users. This command is pretty basic. It's just connecting to the TeamFiltration database using the database parameter, the path to the database folder, and again, the configuration file we've been using. Once in the database, all we have to do is type show emails to see how many emails we've collected. And we can see, as opposed to start of the video where we only had 7, this time we have a lot more because we've been able to enumerate the tenant from the perspective of a valid user, meaning we actually will get a lot more information as opposed to before where we just had emails from external recon. We can also type show creds if we'd like to see how many valid credentials we have. And great, that's it. At this point, if it was a real assessment, you might want to take some of the emails that weren't in the previous password spraying list, add them to the list, remove the previous one, and then try password spraying again. This does sometimes lead to more valid credentials, but for now, we're just going to end it and move on to another attack.